Welcome to Fun in Key West, where every day feels like a mini fest. Grab a drink, take it slow. We'll show you where the locals go. Food, fun, and stories to tell. Hidden gems you know so well. Your Key West experts here to say it's fun in Key West every day.
Welcome to another episode of First Timer Friday. Thank you so much for being here and tuning in to the Fun in Key West podcast. On Fridays, what we do is I like to talk about things that are, you know what, if you're a first timer or you've been to Key West 50 times, there are all kinds of tips and ideas that I like to highlight on Fridays. So that's what we're talking about today is a tip and ideas on choosing the best bed and breakfast in Key West. Now, I could go through a whole list of properties and tell you the ins and outs of all the properties. But I thought, you know what? I bet you need more than that. You don't need just an itemized listing of what properties are available. You can go on Expedia, you can you can go on Trivago, you can go on all of those websites and find a list. What you're going to need, and this is what I'm going to give you today, are those tips and those ideas on why you choose a certain property and the amenities and the reasons why you choose those properties. So, if you're joining me live, I am so glad that you are. And if you are, please drop a hey, I'm here so I can do a shout out. So I understand as you start to go through your list of places to stay in Key West, it can be extremely overwhelming. There is a lot to choose from. There's a huge collection of inns and boutique hotels and guest houses, especially in Old Town. I'm going to digress a little bit into some historical reasons for that. As we talk about, Key West has gone through a lot of economic iterations. You know, they had wrecking and sponging and a lot of other things that occurred in Key West. And they were encouraged, that the citizens of Key West and the homeowners of Key West were encouraged during the Depression era to offer their homes as bed and breakfasts. And so a lot of these historical homes have remained to be a bed and breakfast or a boutique hotel or some sort of hospitality venue. And so that's a lot of the reasons why you see so many in Key West, and a lot of the homes are no longer privately owned or privately lived in. But there's a bunch. So you get off of Duval, you go a couple streets over into the residential section, and they're going to be more residential in the nature over there. But there, as you start to explore the options, are you looking for that historic Key West vibe? Are you looking for a boutique modern vibe? And a lot of these options start to blur together. But I'm going to help you walk through some of these and figure out, as you're pulling together what you want, what matters to you, that list should get a little bit smaller. So the first big question, what does a bed and breakfast in Key West really mean? Not all bed and breakfasts in Key West have experiences that are created equal. So as you start to look through of them, some of them offer a complimentary breakfast or a complimentary continental breakfast. And others offer breakfast add-ons or partner with nearby cafes. So truly understanding, what does breakfast mean and what is included? And what does it actually look like? What is your breakfast going to look like? Are you going to get Greek yogurt and fresh fruit? Are you going to get baked goods? Are you going to get coffee by the pool? Are you going to get a full hot breakfast or just some light grab and go snacks? So if you're planning on big brunches or big dinners, a free breakfast may not be your ultimate deciding factor. But what you're going to want to figure out is what works for you. If you're on a special diet, if you're keto or low carb, or you have you're vegan or vegetarian, some of these places may not offer everything that you are looking for or that is going to accommodate your special dietary needs. So be sure to figure out what it means, what it includes. If you have to call the place and ask, you can do that. A lot of times, though, we can, especially if you just reach out and say, hey, Michelle, I need some help. I can help you sort of navigate that. So figure out, what does breakfast look like and what does it mean to you? Is coffee by the pool fine and you'll go grab breakfast somewhere else? Figure that in. The number one thing I look at, not necessarily breakfast, but absolutely coffee, is location. Location, and how much do you want to walk or can you walk? Um, there is a huge difference in downtown Key West. You go from one end of Duval to the other, and this was one of our trivia questions. It's over 1.25 miles long. So if you are at the southern end and you head all the way to the other end of Duval, and round trip, I mean, you're at 2.5 miles. And if you're not used to walking, that can be a long walk. So if you want to stay within walking distance of a certain area of Duval Street, then you'll know kind of where to narrow yourself down. If you would rather be closer to Mallory Square and all the events down by front, then we'll know kind of where else to put you. If you want to be over by the historic seaport, think Schooner Wharf and that area, then we'll know that area as well. If you want to be down more towards the southern end, so next to the Hemingway House or the Southern Buoy, or if you're into sunrise photography, like my husband Kevin is, maybe you're looking at being more towards that end, so it's not such a long haul for your sunrise photography. So think about where you want to be and how much walking you're going to do. Or are you willing to pay for an Uber and figure that into your cost and your budget? Are you wanting to have that neighborhood feel? Are you wanting to be in the heart of Old Town, more in an area that has that residential feel? Do you want to be more in the heart of what's going on in Duval? All kinds of factors to figure in. So you're going to want to figure out, are you going to be close to the local events, the art galleries, the exciting things happening on Duval and all of your local hot spots? Or are you going to be wanting to have a place that you can go to after you've experienced all of that? It's a little more quiet. You can take and grab a glass of wine or grab a bottle of beer, sit outside on an outside area in your resort or your B&B and just enjoy the quiet. Those are some of the questions I would ask if I'm helping you book. The next thing outside of location is amenities. How much do they matter to you and what are you looking for? What do you absolutely have? Let's talk a must list. Do you have to have, I dropped my list here, do you have to have a pool? Are you looking for a pool? If it doesn't have a pool, is that going to be okay? For example, the Speakeasy doesn't have a pool, but it's still an amazing place to stay. So think about that. Do you want a swimming pool? Do you need a dunking pool? Does it need to be, heated? All of that. We'll figure that out. Are you looking for a hot tub? A lot of places really don't have a hot tub. But, if you're looking for one, we'll see what we can find. Are you looking for a complimentary happy hour? A lot of the adult-only resorts and a lot of the smaller B&Bs still offer a complimentary happy hour. You can pregame before you head out for the evening. Free Wi-Fi anymore, I have to say, this is an absolute given. I have yet to find a place that doesn't offer Wi-Fi, and especially free Wi-Fi. Here's a huge one. Really hard to find and very, very rare is free parking, especially in Old Town. So be sure, if that is an absolute, you're going to narrow your list way down really quick. Do you want garden feel? Do you want a lot of vegetation that surrounds it so you have these little pockets of places that you can go sit and experience? Do you want a place that has just peaceful, quiet vibes, or do you want a place that offers activities by the pool? They're playing live music by the pool during the day. Let's build some of that in. Here's some nice to haves in case this is something else you're looking for. Some places have bike rentals on location, so you're not going to go having to go out and rent a bike and have it delivered. Or they offer transportation around Key West. Maybe they have a transportation bus because maybe you're out on North Roosevelt and you like the feel out there. They'll bring you into Duval and have a drop off and pick up point. That can be saving you some Uber fees. Do they have easy access to the water sports and things that you're wanting to do? Or maybe you're in Key West to go fishing. Are you close to those areas? So figure out what kind of experience are you looking to have when you're in Key West, and then that also helps narrow down that list. So rooms. Let's talk rooms. What makes a comfortable stay versus just a place to sleep? We have stayed in places that I have to tell you, you're shimmying sideways to get around the bed. And I've stayed in other places that, holy cow, my family could fit in this room. There is no right answer or wrong answer. I think outside of everything else that we just talked about, the breakfast, the amenities, and the location, I think the room to me becomes very, very minor in terms of its size. Honestly, I spend very little time in the room. What's more important to me is that the location has a place that I can sit outside. Does it have its own balcony? Does it have a place, if it doesn't have its own balcony or its own outside space reserved for that room, does it have a place on property that I can go sit and not necessarily by a pool, but maybe at a table where they serve breakfast, that in the evening I can go sit out and just enjoy being outside? To me, that's important. If a comfortable room and it's just okay because it's going to work and it's just where I'm going to sleep and shower and get dressed is fine for you, that list doesn't really get too much narrow. If you're looking for luxurious accommodations, yeah, that list might get a little more narrow. But here's where I think you have to have that balance. Comfortable can also mean historic and quirky, and you're going to have rooms that are in a weird angle, that are weirdly shaped, that are kind of tucked inside houses that maybe you have no idea what its original purpose was for. Versus luxury, a lot of times that's because it's a boutique hotel and it was designed to be a hotel. Depends on what your vibe is. Private bath. There is a hostel in Key West that offers a shared bath option. I personally have to have a private bath. I'm just that person. So if that's important to you, which to me it is very, very, very important, then that'll help also find you. Again, going back to that modern amenities versus rich history, even in the historic hotels, the historic homes that have been converted into hotels or bed and breakfasts, they offer modern amenities. You're going to have showers and running water and, the private bath and all of that. It's, I think, the aesthetics more than anything. What does it look like versus is it just quirky and it's just the way the world works in terms of that house. Again, going back, there are unique properties in Key West, and each offers his history, offers the ability to say, this used to be a home that a family lived in. And it allows your mind sometimes, it allows mine to wander into the idea that, I can imagine myself living here, and how cool is that? Here's another thing. Are you looking for a place that is adult only, that caters to the romantic side of your vacation? Or are you looking for something that's totally social and offers all kinds of events? So know your travel style. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a romantic getaway, or are you looking for a lively place that matches Duval Street's vibe? There are adult only properties, so you need to be either 18 or 21 to be on property, so there will be no kids. That's again going to be your idea of what are you looking for in the vibe that you are looking for in your vacation. And again, do they have quiet tropical places for you to escape to? Is it a location that caters to a couple? Is it, because if it's a location that caters to couples and you are a solo traveler, that might not be the best fit. Or if you're traveling with a group, make sure, it fits the vibe of what you're trying to do. Now let's get into fees and rates and all that other stuff people don't talk about and they really don't like to talk about. Um, there are usually properties have a resort fee that is on top of their night fee. So be sure as you're pricing and checking prices, if you're very, very budget conscious, what is the room rate and do they have a resort fee, because those are usually separated. And so you want to understand that. Are they going to charge you a fee to process a credit card? Do they charge a cleaning fee? Do they have any other fees that are not on that first listing? So you have your room rate, your resort fee, maybe a parking fee, maybe a processing fee, maybe a cleaning fee. You got to figure all that out. Some hotels and bed and breakfast in town really, really strongly encourage, think like cruise line encourage, tipping of the housekeeping staff on a daily basis. So be sure you understand all of your expectations when you come in to these places. So you want to compare the pricing after fees so that you are doing an apples to apples comparison. Um, there's also a lot of you who tune in on our Historic Marker Mondays episodes because you love the history of Key West. What's so cool about the history of Key West is you get to stay in a lot of these places that have history. I mentioned the Speakeasy Inn. Historical property, it's, there's a historic marker right out front, but you can actually stay in the house. The southernmost inn, that was a historic home. It was originally built as a one-bedroom home, but you can stay there. So there's a lot of properties. The Key West Historic Inns, all of their properties have some sort of historical significance. And so being able to stay on the property, experience the grounds, and that adds a lot to your adventure, especially if you're into history. So being able to balance a lot of, if you're just looking for a hotel and history isn't that important to you, I'll recommend La Concha, and there's, Pier House and, Ocean Key. Those are resorts. They're made to be a resort. They're made to be a hotel, and they function that way, and they do it very well. But if you're looking for a bed and breakfast and something a little quirky, I'm your gal. I can definitely help you find something. So let's narrow this down. You're going to put it into your query, or you're going to find all kinds of listings when you look at bed and breakfast in Key West. So let's narrow it down without overthinking. I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. Do you want to walk everywhere, or do you mind paying for Uber and rides? Number 1. Number 2, will I actually eat breakfast there? So do I care what they serve for breakfast or not? And number 3, is the pool and outdoor space important to me? Because that determines sometimes location outside of actual location in relation to where you want to go. But what do the grounds look like and how much property do they have? So again, heart of Key West, are you going to be there? Are you going to be tucked inside a place that has some really amazing gardens? And that allows you to have the best and memorable stay, right? So Key West, as you can tell, has a lot of options. And I'm telling you, You run it through Trivago, you run it through Expedia, and even if you start to filter for some of these amenities and location and breakfast or no breakfast or price, you're still probably going to end up with a list that's a little long. That's what I'm here for. Reach out to me and say, Michelle, hey, I need help. Can you give me some ideas, some places to stay? Have you been here? Have you been there? Give me your idea of this property. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. Will this property do it? Always happy to help. As we had Kevin on with Out of Here Travel, he's happy to help you book that as well. So it takes away all of the stress and strain. You just tell us what you're looking for, and we can make that happen. Some of the ones you're going to find on the list as you start to look through is you're going to have Ambrosia, great property. Island City House over on Eaton Street. I've stayed there multiple times, stayed in several of their buildings. The Cigar House in the front section as well. Great location, especially if you're wanting to be over by the seaport area. It's a little more quiet because you're over on Eaton Street, but it's still centrally located. It's not that long of a walk, but they do offer some really nice amenities. If you are used to staying in Truman Annex, especially like at the shipyard condos, and now with the change that occurred in January of 2026, that you can't do a short-term rental over there, your shortest term over there is 28 days, and you want to stay for 7, I'm going to plant a seed with you here. The Island City House offers rooms that have a kitchen. So if that's why you were staying over there was because of the ability to cook and not have to eat out all your meals, they do offer that. Old Town Manor offers a bed and breakfast feel. So to me, it's like you're staying in a house and you have a room, and then you can come down and you have a social hour, you have the social breakfast. If that's your vibe, that's a really fun place to stay at. One of the first places we stayed at in Key West was the Key West Harbor Inn. This place is across the street from Kermit's, and so it's very centrally located, very quiet inside. Several homes are in the compound, and so you get this really nice vibe. I believe they still have a complimentary happy hour. They serve and take care of their guests very well, and so that's always a place that I recommend. And another place that I always love is the Key West Historic Inns. They have multiple properties that you can check out, and each of them have get this history attached to them. So you have like the Lighthouse, and you have Ella's Cottages, and they each have their own unique story and vibe. And so happy to help you choose which one that you're looking for. So as you can see, I could have done a whole laundry list of the best bed and breakfast in Key West, but I think that's a subjective. I think that's a subjective list because it depends. Like I always say, what are you looking for? Well, that depends, and it always depends on what you're looking for, what's important to you, and what is going to make your trip absolutely memorable and fantastic. And that's what I hopefully gave you was an idea of maybe how to filter out a lot of those, the list. And again, if you get overwhelmed, DM me, reach out, say, hey, Michelle, I need some help. I can always connect you in with Kevin at Out of Here Travel and see what we can come up with to help you choose the best location for you and that experience. Also help you book some of those tours. So that's a lot, isn't it? This will be all put together in a nice blog post for you, and it'll be linked. But in the meantime, there is a lot more information on where to stay and some other tips and tricks and travel ideas over at, I'm going to send you there, FunInKeyWest.com. And so be sure to check out under where to stay. So there's some ideas over there, and gives you an idea of some of our adventures that we've had in Key West, and some ideas of how to spend 3, 4, 5 days. While you're over there, sign up for our happy hour list that gets you on our newsletter, and that then lets you become part of our trivia contest. Every week I have a trivia question that I send out. If you get the answer right, you get to be in the drawing. I draw once a month. It's a Key West swag box, and you'll love the box. Everybody seems to be loving the box once we started this. As well as if you love to read books that have a connection to Key West or the Florida Keys, check out our book club. It's free. You get a digital magazine every month, and lots of conversations happening over in our private Facebook group. We are getting ready to draw the February book really soon, but everybody has been really enjoying the January book and all the other ones before that. I am Michelle, and thank you so much for stopping in, watching, listening for another episode of our First Timer Friday. And with that, you guys have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you later.